Hey everyone, welcome to today's stream. I know I am super late and I'm really sorry for that. Thank you, Dio Brando, for hanging in there, man, or anybody else who's watching. I had to run some quick errands this morning before I got started, and it took a little bit longer than I wanted it to, but we're here now. And we're here to kind of just have like a chill kickback sort of day, right? Like, because as you guys have noticed, I haven't uploaded any videos for the new horror classics. We're gonna go ahead and take care of that in just a moment. But lately, I've been really preoccupied with a project with the not that's all I want to call it right now is a project. Um, and it's horror like oriented. And like and it's not like a genre thing, right? I mean, it's horror, but it's not like a slasher thing. It's not a creature feature, it's not a fountain, it's nothing like that. It's just like to me a horrific idea. Like it's I don't want to talk about it right now. I don't want to talk about the specifics of it right now, right? But the thing that I'm working on, uh it's it's horror in my head, right? Like it's a horror story, but it's hard to explain why. And I want to kind of get to the bottom as to what is horror, what is the philosophy of horror, um, and like really drill into what makes something scary, what makes something qualify as a horrific story, Because I mean, we all know the monsters, the cinematography, but I want to kind of talk about the big picture philosophical elements of it, right? Because on top of that, 2 weeks ago it was my dad's birthday, and he wanted to do a birthday camping trip. And it was my nieces and nephews, their first time going camping, right? And it was only my second time, so not that I have a whole lot more experience, just two times more, literally. um, so we go on this camping trip, and as you do in camping trips, you start telling like scary stories, and you try to like spook each other, especially this time of the year. And like, and it got and it's crazy because like I was hanging out with the kids, and we had these headlights on, right? Sort of stuff you strap on your head and it keeps like a light on. And I was just sort of playing with it, and like I saw that like it would flash red if you press it enough times. So I was going walking around with the kids. They were saying, "Let's go hunting for ghosts," and I was like, "All right." And I was like, "All right, kids, as long as this light stays white, we're good. If it's red, there's ghosts around. If it starts flashing red, we need to start running." Hey, Jeremy. And so like I made it flash red, and all the kids got freaked out. Like the youngest nephew like had to go to his mom and dad. I felt kind of bad about that. Um, but what I'm trying to get at here, right, is this sort of like idea of horror has been floating around my head lately because of several different things. And it's really just kind of got me like thinking, like what is it about uh like horror, right? Because like my nieces and nephews, they range from like 4 to 8 years old, and they're young and they don't like scary stuff, but like they love like spooky stuff, if that makes any sense. And they're all like Mexican or half Mexican. And at least recently I was listening to this podcast called The Mexcellence, and it's all about like being a Mexican American. The podcast is in Texas, but some of them from California. So it's a lot of relatability stuff. A lot of stuff that I can relate to. I mean, and the last episode they did is why do Mexicans specifically, why do we love scary shit, right? And the whole podcast was just talking about like how like, yeah, when we were kids, and myself included, we were watching like Halloween when we were 3 or 4 years old. My parents didn't think twice of it. And my nieces and nephews, like, they know that I have this YouTube channel, and they know that I talk a lot about scary movies. So they always ask me, like, why do you like scary movies so much? Because they're young, they don't really fully understand it. And something that I heard them saying that I tell the kids all the time is that, like, the world itself is a scary place. Like, bad things happen to good people, for things that aren't fair, or for no reason whatsoever. the world is chaotic and it's a mess, right? At least in a horror movie, there's like a logic to it. It has to have like some sort of logic to it. Um, and it makes sense and it's all fake anyway. So no matter how bad, anything on screen gets, in the back of your head, it's a movie, nobody's actually getting hurt. So, it doesn't seem the same way. And I could tell that the kids get it, they understand it, but they don't sort of like really like take it in, they don't really like understand, maybe because they are so young, the difference between like seeing somebody be going through horrific things on screen at a movie. Yeah, that too. Like there's a lot of reasons why, and I'm glad that you're. And feel free, by the way, anyone to throw in your 2 cents here because I don't have the answer to this. Like, what I do like, I think there's something about horror that's. Oh, hey, happy Friday, indeed, Pink Bunny Zero. Welcome to the chat. Good to see you again, man. But like, yeah, there's something about like horror that is just like, I don't know. Maybe it's because I've been consuming so much of it lately, especially for this stream, that it's just sort of like become this sort of big thing in my head. I got away from the serious of his crimes. Yeah, I think like it was pretty balanced like in the first movie, but as it went on, like the comedy definitely started to take too much of a presence. Like it started to feel like Bugs Bunny sometimes. What was that one with Roseanne Barr and Tom Arnold? That one was just. I think that might have been like the last one in the 80s. Yeah, he was a child molester, right? And I think like the remake kind of like brought that out more, if I remember correctly. But you're right, like, but at the same time, maybe I am misremembering things, but I think even in the original, they didn't just come right out and say he was a child molester. I think they even said he was a child killer then. But I know originally that was the intent of it. But yeah, like Freddy definitely. I think Freddy's a good example of like flanderization and stuff. Was definitely more focused on the. Yeah, okay, so maybe so I am remembering that right. Yeah, like I think there's definitely an argument to be made, but like okay, so let's bring it all together, right? Let's bring it all to focus here because I think what I'm trying to get at here is like what even fucking is horror, right? Like what makes something horror? And I have a couple of things that I want to present, right? And a couple of basic rules. And I want to present the first one that I heard from Little Movie Perp. Again, great channel. I gave him the link. I don't know if he's gonna have the time to stop by, but I definitely want to get to the bottom of this, right? Like what are the rules? And I'm not talking about like in the Scream sense, right? Like I'm not talking about like don't have sex, don't do drugs kind of shit. Like no, like I want to talk about like the philosophy of it. So and this sort of like I think really began when I heard Little Movie Perp, who has worked in the industry and he directed an episode of Ash vs. the Evil Dead actually. Idea of horror changes as we age. For instance, The Exorcist hits differently for parents who see it less about a possession and more about a helpless mother with a sick child. Dude, you cannot have said that more right, Beaver. 100%. Because I watched The Exorcist when I was like for the first time when I was like 6. And it was pretty scary, but by that point I was pretty conditioned to a lot of like those types of movies. Use that social justice aspect. Yes, definitely. We're gonna talk about that in a second. But yeah, like yeah, I remember like when I was a kid, like it freaked me out because of the basic horror stuff, but I only saw it when I was a kid and I watched it for the second time, I think last year. And like that movie still works. Like The Exorcist is still a great movie. But what really sort of like affected me was the scene that stuck with me the most, that really, really uh fucked with me, was the scene where Reagan is taken to the hospital and they're like poking and prodding at her, and like you see her go through like all these like painful procedures. She's being like cut and all this stuff, and it's so fucked up because like you said, it's about a helpless mother with a sick child, and we are put in her position because we're watching her like go through all these horrific things when in the back of our heads, like we know, like it's a demonic possession. None of this shit's gonna fucking work. Like, yeah, no, you're totally right. I do want to get to that because I do think there's an element of that, right? Because let's see. Well, my nieces and nephews tell me all the time is that they don't like scary stuff. Um, they like spooky stuff. It was ever since they were kids. Like when they were kids, they loved watching this what was this Zombone on Netflix or whatever. So like they always like the aesthetics of like spooky stuff. But like now that they're, kids, like a lot of the stuff they watch on YouTube is like creepy pastas type of stuff. Like a lot of it's brain rot to be real, but it's got like creepy elements. And they're obsessed with the movie Coraline. Like for months, they've been asking me about Coraline and Coraline. And finally, my brother like rented it for them. And the other day, I was talking to them, and they told me, "Yeah, we finally watched Coraline," and they were like so stoked about it, you know. Um, and I remember being a kid, like just there was like this aura around horror, right? And there was like I don't know how to describe it, but like even then, like when I was a kid, I also understood there was a difference between like Goosebumps and like Alien, you know. So like yeah, I think there's like something that appeals to that as kids, and then like once you're actually in it, it's its own thing, you know. But let's keep going here. Horror of the Eras definitely reflect the times you are made in. Media is always super reflective of that time period, 100%. And horror is a great metaphor device for our current fears, just like the hospital scene you described. Yeah, um, there was uh, talk about like I don't want to get too political here, but before Trump, right? There was a sort of pattern where depending on which political party had more cultural like control, you would see like a change in horror genres that get made. Specifically, when America felt was culturally dominated by Democrats or anybody that was sort of like to the left and progressives, you saw a lot of horror movies about vampires because vampires were like sophisticated and seductive, and all these sort of like they presented themselves as this sort of like mysterious thing, but deep down it was like this corrupt and hollow thing. And that's how a lot of conservatives view the left and progressives and Democrats and all that. And whenever you saw this in George Bush, because that's when we saw the explosion of like zombie films, Land of the Dead and all that shit. Speaking of Romero, but like yeah, during the Bush administration, the thing shifted towards zombies because zombies are these mindless hordes of disgusting disease-ridden like monsters. And that's like not literally, of course. I don't think like the right literally views us as vampires, but to some extent like that plays into how the left views the right. The 70s were the slasher paradigm. I don't think the 90s were. I think the 70s were like I think the 70s were a weird time because like they weren't like a thing, right? Like slashers weren't like a thing, but like they were starting you were starting to get those proto slashers and stuff. And like I'm thinking like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Like we did get a slash like, and it's weird because Halloween is to horror what Jaws is to like action like filmmaking, like action adventure movies, where all of a sudden, like much like Jaws was just another action movie or adventure movie, whatever you want to call it, that sort of showed the formula to proven blockbuster success. Halloween said these types of movies can be made super cheaply and appeal to a wide audience, and everybody's going to want to see them. And yeah, no, totally, Craig. I agree. The 80s were the era of slashers. But like the 70s were, I think, in my opinion, probably the best time for films and especially for the horror genre because like there was so many like different how do I say it? It felt like horror movies on all levels, all the way from like the B movies to the independent movies, all the way up to like big studio movies. Anybody who was working in the horror genre was just doing groundbreaking stuff. A lot of it was because as Pink Bunny Zero said, it was a way for people to explore sort of a lot of their social anxieties through films and stuff. But I think the 70s were just sort of like a time where a lot of horror elements were sort of like being toyed around with in very interesting ways. And yeah, I agree. I think that was maybe like excuse me. That was definitely when you started to see horror become elevated for the first time to a more not only mainstream thing but a more respectable thing, Um but yeah, 100%. There was I mean, yeah, I mean, I guess you're right, but to be honest, like I know they were there, but I know they were there, but I haven't actually don't remember watching a lot of like fantasy horror in the like growing up. What I remember watching growing up from the 80s were slashers. Let's see. The 70s was its inspirational peak. Were very Cambrian. Cambrian, like is that? I don't know that name to be honest. So, oh, okay. You know, I actually haven't seen Reanimator, but I get okay, but I get what you're saying. I think like fantasy horror, or I think like the 80s. One of the reasons why horror was like doing so well was because there were so many advances in practical effects and practical makeup and animatronics and stuff. And I think horror movies were just yeah, I think horror movies were just a great way, a great like vehicle to make to advance like you know, animatronic technology and makeup effects and stuff like that. And I think maybe that's another aspect of the horror genre that goes uncelebrated too, right? Is that like you need to be able to do makeup and effects in horror. And I think especially, you know, with like Tom Savini, um, who kind of came at it from like a very like B movie independent world, like I think he probably found a lot of really cool ways to get those sort of convincing horror effects and makeup on like really small budgets, especially the stuff that he did with like you know, Dawn of the Dead. Yeah, and I mean there's a lot of really great things about horror, right? Like I mean, horror is such a rich genre because it sort of requires its own like I wouldn't say like language, but its own like completely unique mindset to sort of like get into, right? Like it's very rare that people just by chance like just start watching a horror movie like halfway through. People usually sit down and choose to watch a horror movie, whereas most people will just like put on a comedy, put on a drama even without really putting much thought into it. I mean, unless it's something like super hairy, like heavy thematically, but other than that, right? But okay, I want to get back to what little movie perp said. Because I thought like it was a very insightful I thought it was a very insightful comment. He said that like in horror, you can never defeat the villain. Or yeah, you can never destroy the horror, right? You can never destroy the source of the evil. You can temporarily defeat it, you can temporarily stop it, but you can't like permanently kill it. And he said something very interesting. He said part of what makes horror something horrific is the idea of helplessness, the idea that you can never really truly be done with this thing. Uh okay, hey, there he is, little movie perp. Yeah, no, like I'm quoting you here, man. So like yeah, when you said that in horror you can never truly like destroy the source of the evil. You could only like temporarily stop it because for something to be horrific, it has to be like this big sort of thing that's always been like that maybe not like always been around, but like has to be this more abstract idea. And I think that's yeah, I think that's a very solid like entry point to sort of have this conversation, right? Because I think what he's getting at when he says that is that what makes something horror beyond just like the aesthetics, beyond just any like genre elements or tropes, or even iconography, is the essential like feeling that we create in the audience, you know, that is done through like this genre, and that is specifically the feeling of like fear, of like being afraid, you know. And I think that's something that I think is what the you know, you eventually kind of come to grow up, right? Is that like nobody wants to be scared in the real world because the real world is chaotic and unpredictable. But there is something fun about being scared. It does, you know, get your adrenaline pumping, and all these sort of things that are undeniably like thrilling and can be positive. Also, you know, because well, we'll get more into it. Um, and as long and yeah, but like just because it is something and because it is something that we know like in the back of our heads is fake, it needs to like bring something out of us, something like deep in our core to really like feel real. And I think yeah, that is one really great way to sort of lens it, you know, because yeah, if something is unstoppable, right? And I'll get, you know, and I'll talk about this movie more in a second, but um I was watching well, I'll just go on the show right now. from the Vinegar Syndrome, Mexican Gothic, the films of Carlos Enrique Taboada set right here. I was watching Blacker Than the Night, Más Negra que la Noche, and in that movie, basically, and it's like a Mexican riff on a giallo movie, and like it's a pretty decent movie. It's pretty fun. It's a very well made, kind of reminded me of Abigail, right? It's like a very strongly made average script, and what I liked about it was that like the strongest thing about it to me, the thing that really stuck with me is that like the whole movie is about this cat that I won't get into it, but let's just say this cat, and it sounds ridiculous, but trust me, like it works in this movie. The ghost of this cat is like haunting this group of women. And I'm being super reductive here. Trust me, it works a lot better than I'm describing it. But the whole movie plays out, and it's a pretty decent movie. But like at the end, it just ends with like the sound of the cat meowing and the character looking like at the camera. It's just like the most simple thing, like in this otherwise sort of like standard horror movie, that stuck with me because that's exactly what oh dude, yeah, it's definitely a really fun movie. Más Negra que la Noche, I think it's on Tubi as well. But yeah, let's see. At the end of the day, horror can be seen as commentary of death. No one can escape that. We cannot win over death. So representing that in horror and defeating death doesn't feel honest. Yeah, no, perfect. And dude, seriously, like if you ever want to schedule it out, let's do it. I'm happy to have this conversation more in depth. But like, what are you gonna say? Yeah, so um, it is in a lot of ways a meditation on not just a commentary on death, but a lot of other things. But I'll definitely, we'll get into that later. Um, but yeah, like I think because little things like that, right? Those little things sort of like touch onto that feeling that there is this something bigger, scarier thing that is incomprehensible and that is inescapable. Yeah, I definitely think that that is not just like a huge part of it. I think that it might just be the whole game, like at its core, right? I think there's more to it than that, but like in terms of like the very core of it, I think it's really just comes down to like that appeal to our core like fears and stuff. And so yeah, I think something else here that Pink Bunny Zero said is that yeah. Oh, okay, I see what you're saying by Cambrian. A time of experimentation and explosive growth. Yeah, I like that. That's funny. That's cool. I never heard it used that way before, but I like it. Horror has always been a good entry to film. It doesn't rely on money or expensive performers while having a built-in audience. Yeah, and also like I think like even like the mediocre like horror movie, if it works, it works because a director of that genre needs to like have some sort of understanding of it to like elicit a feeling. So yeah, that's a very good point. Um, a rich genre, one of the few that's evergreen. It's been kicking around since the beginning of cinema, definitely. And I mean, I think even like the beginning of time. I think a lot of mythology just sort of comes from like just sort of sitting around the campfire, talking about spooky shit, trying to make sense of the world. You know what? Maybe that's what it is. It's just spooky shit trying to make sense of the world. Like tale as old as time. Final Destination films. Yeah, definitely. I think the strongest. And I think there's a lot of creativity to it. I think part of the reasons why horror is such an evergreen genre is just because like there are so many ways to do it. And I think another thing that makes horror work is that like the best horror feels like just as personal as like the best dramas out there. It still feels like not only are we exploring these broad ideas, but we're exploring it from a very like specific point of view. And because of that, it can be like so many different things, right? And what I love about the Final Destination movie specifically is that they are horror movie. They're essentially slasher movies, right? But the slasher movie is invisible. So to visualize the slasher, it's basically Rube Goldberg machinery. Like the slasher is physics and like the manipulation of like these little things, but that's the fucking fun of it, man. Like that is the best thing about the horror genre, and with the short film we're gonna close out on today. It's called Ghost Goose, you know, because I think yeah, one of the best things about horror is just like the sheer creativity of it, and that you can make horror out of fucking anything, including the goddamn ghost cat. Yeah. Um, Horror is pure cinema. What makes movies interesting and fun? Plot, conflict. A girl running from a dude with a chainsaw is pure conflict, the simplest form. Which is why it surprises me that you didn't like Strange Darling, bro. Like that's like the entire first chapter is just that. Let's see. Yeah, I love the Final Destination movies too, man. Ghost Goose is it's part of the Ghost Animal cinematic universe, bro. Fucking okay. That joke, the timing's gone for that window. The timing window has moved past that joke, and so we must move past this point. God, let's see. So definitely to speak to some great, and you can't defeat it. Yeah. Okay. No, yeah, that's the stuff, man. No, I mean you got to admit, like that first chapter of that movie is something else. And yeah, like because getting back to the idea that horror has to feel personal, right? And I'll guess I'll do my new horror classics review of Midsommar right now. In fact, I actually have it right here. Um, I'm gonna show off a bunch of my favorite like box sets and possessions here, and this is definitely one of them. This is the A24. Oh shit! Oh no, it's the yellow is not. Let me see. What if I put it over here? Okay, over here. Yeah, like you can kind of see it. You can kind of see it. I think. Fuck. This is not playing well. Okay, it's yellow, guys. All the dude, the yellow works so much better. Okay, I'm just gonna put this away now. But it's the A24 director's cut blue 4K of let me see. The Ghost Cinematic Universe. That's great. Okay, this will show up better. Yeah, this is the instant. No, it's okay. There you go. Yeah, this is the inner jacket here. Um, and it's just like a really cool. Like I'll show you guys what A24 box sets look now, but like I really love these ridiculously oversized thing. You know, it has like a lot of these like boutique labels have like books and stuff like that, and this is literally just like laid out. The whole thing is just a book. I can't show some of the stuff that's in here. Um, let's see. Let's see what I can show. Got an essay here from Ragnar from fucking Martin Scorsese. Check out some of this artwork here. We got some stuff from throughout the movie too. It's a pretty great set. The fucking cover is great. I really wish that I could show it to you guys better. But and I'm not hating because like I like this too, but this is what the current A24 boxes look like. I got a Love Lies Bleeding and I saw the TV glow. They look cool. You know, they come with like lithographs and stuff, which is pretty legit. But it's just it's not as fucking cool, man. It's just not as impressive as the big stupid dong size fucking things, you know. Let's see. Yes, horror is intimate, very difficult to do epic horror. Those fall flat. I think the closest we got to a summer blockbuster horror is the It remakes. Yeah, I was just gonna say that they felt big, but still pretty good. Um, yeah, I definitely want to talk about that. I mean, see, A24 physical media presentation is incredible. I got Green Knight. Thanks for recommending it. Oh, dude, yeah, no, I should probably get that set too because Green Knight's one of my favorite movies of the decade so far. So what was I gonna say? Yeah, so Midsommar. Um, I saw the theatrical cut opening weekend. Um, and I think looking back, I went to go see it like with a couple of friends. We were all hungover after a big fucking party that we had. And I think out of all of us, I was definitely the worst, the most hungover back then. But we went to go see it, and I didn't like it. I didn't like it the first time because it felt to me like a 2.5 hour long breakup movie. And and it just felt so a little, um, a little bit. It felt weirdly not that. Let me see what was I gonna say. It felt a little bit like too intimate, right? Because another thing that's sort of like up for debate um is how long should a horror movie be? Because I think I think for the most part, horror shouldn't be a standard horror movie shouldn't be longer than like an hour 40 on at the very most, like, and I'm talking like your basic, like, not trying to do anything too ambitious or crazy sort of horror movie shouldn't be more than 100 minutes long. If you The longer the horror movie goes on beyond that, in my opinion, the bigger the themes, the bigger the ideas. Yeah, yeah, exactly. The longer it goes on, the better the ideas have to be, the better the exploration, the more in depth that it has to be. So the problem with the theatrical cut is that because of what they chose to cut out, and because it is weirdly shorter, it puts too much of the movie's focus on this breakup. And let me see. I will tell you right now, no Puerto Rican would have been anywhere near Midsommar. No, no, yeah, that's totally something that that's like one of those, like, one of the tropes in horror movies is that white people just doing shit that nobody else would fucking do, I guess, you know, at all, unfortunately. Thank you. I'm not the one who thinks Terrifier. I think, I haven't seen Terrifier 2 myself, but I am planning to. Anyways, back to Midsommar. With the theatrical cut, I thought that for 2.5 hours, it felt too much of like too about something that was too small. It felt like it was this way too elaborate, way too dramatic, way too over the top breakup movie, right? And I didn't watch it again until I bought the A24 disc a few months ago for the Bo is Afraid essay, which I swear is still getting made. It's just taking a long time because it's a long ass fucking movie. But but I rewatched it. I rewatched it when I first got it, and I liked it better. I liked it more. Um, but and to be totally real here, I watched it when I was still with my ex. I rewatched it last weekend. And it's been about what, 7 months? Yeah, I've been single now for 7 months. And here's the funny part, here's the fucking funny part. Like, the part of the movie that was just a breakup movie, like, really fucking affected me, dude. Like it really hit me. Um, by the end, watching it, yeah, I hate to say it, dude. Yeah, yeah, but it wasn't just because of the breakup. Okay, I'll touch on that in a second, right? It wasn't just because it was I just I just went through a breakup myself. It wasn't just that. But man, like, and it's I don't want to get too into details about like the actual breakup itself, but like it was too easy for me to put myself into Christian's like shoes when it came to his relationship with Danny, like towards the end. Um, and not, I wasn't, don't get me wrong, I was never as bad as him. Like, I think like I think I think there's been this gender divide since the beginning of Midsommar between like a lot of women thinking that Christian totally deserves what he got, and a lot of guys like disagreeing. And like the older I get, the more sympathy I have for that fucking guy. Because I think sadly, almost every guy has been a Christian Hughes from Midsommar. Unfortunately, you know, I definitely am guilty of that myself. I have been I have been a fucking guy in my early 20s, unfortunately. But that's all Christian is. He's just your standard guy in his early 20s who isn't very like good at voicing his emotions or expressing his emotions in a healthy manner, communicating. And like when I watch it, I'm like, give this man, let him cook. Give this guy a couple of years, let him get his heart broken a few times, and then he'll understand. And so like, yeah, I totally felt so bad for Christian at the end of it, because like he doesn't deserve that. But I think that is going towards another sort of facet of horror that I think is really important. And it's something that I talked about in my Shin Godzilla review, is that horror by necessity needs to be cruel. It needs to be like horrific. I'm clearing my throat a lot. I should probably go get some water real quick. You know what? Let me put on uh let me see here. Let me go get some water real quick. I'll put on this video. What can I put on here? Oh yeah, I was watching. What was I watching? I was watching a song, but I'll put on something else now. Okay, here's what we'll do. I'll put on this Child's Play 2 review while I grab some water real quick, and I'll be right back. Let me see. By the way, while I'm gone, please go ahead and let me know some other horror things, other like important facets of the horror genre. I want to hear what you guys have to say. In the meantime, enjoy this video.
To another episode of Surf and Stream, where every week we're on a quest to find out what is the greatest movie of all time. And we are back with Horror in Review Part 5. Throughout the entire month of October, we are going to be reviewing a whole lot of horror movies, and we are focusing on the slasher film genre this year. There are so many movies out there that you could throw in the subgenre of slasher films. So it's kind of like it's personal opinion on whether it's a slasher film or not. So throughout the entire month, we're going to be knocking out some of the biggest slasher films ever made. And this week, I am reviewing Child's Play 2. Yes, we are skipping the original movie and going straight to the sequel. Okay. One, I want to highlight the biggest slasher films that have ever been made. Obviously, we can't do Halloween because that one has already been reviewed on this channel. I went through all the Chucky movies and I said, okay, obviously Child's Play has to be one of the movies that I review for October. I mean, that is one of the quintessential slasher films, and it's definitely one of the ones that I grew up with. So which one do I review? Do I go one with the more comedy horror aspect of it, where it kind of got away from what the original movies were about, or do I go with just the best one in general? And I'm going with number 2, which has always been my personal favorite of the series, Child's Play 2. I think this is a great fucking film. I actually hadn't seen it in 15 plus years. It probably was longer than that. And this was a movie that I grew up with. This was one of those movies, Friday the 13th, Halloween, and Chucky. Those were the 3 big movies or 3 big franchises that I watched growing up. Yeah, Freddy Krueger's out there with Nightmare on Elm Street, but I never really fell in love with that franchise. So for me personally, it was always Chucky, Jason, and Michael. Those are the 3 big ones for me. Shout out. And then, like I said, I started revisiting the entire Chucky series just to refresh myself on how great these movies were. So watching the OG movie, you get the sense that they just didn't know. Like, they went for the typical slasher film with that one. Yes, it has some comedic beats in it. For the most part, it's just your typical slasher film, right? 2, Child's Play 2, that's really where I felt like they decided to really hit towards the comedic side. Child's Play 2 has, to me, the perfect blend of that cheesy horror. It gives you the comedic beats while also being kind of serious with the horror. And I very much appreciate that. And one thing that this movie does very, very well, and it's something that a lot of horror movies don't get in.
All right, yeah, I'm back. And yeah, let's get right back to what I was talking about. Yeah, there has to be some sort of injustice or unfairness or randomness. Yeah, absolutely. I think like part of something being like, unknowable or unkillable. I think something that is just like incomprehensible is another facet of it. Because God, what am I trying to get at here? Like, kind of getting back to The Exorcist, right? Like, part of what the appeal when we go watch a horror movie, the sort of like unspoken sort of like what's word I'm looking for here? I guess the unspoken appeal of horror, the sort of like lizard brain reason why we go and watch a horror movie is a little bit to see how far this horror movie is going to take it. How cruel is it going to get, right? And I don't think there's anything like, and don't get me wrong, I think it is inherently salacious and all that for sure. But I think there's something um a little bit more going on than just the surface level, like, let's just go stare at the car crash quality of it. I think like horror is a safe place for humanity to put all its darkness at, right? Um Back in the day, people would just sit around. I mean, people you just used to go watch like executions, right? People would watch live vivisections. It was that fucking doctor who would just surgically put two dogs' heads onto one. All this horrific shit that happened to real living things and humans who experienced like a real pain. So like there's always been this part of the human like psyche that has wanted to like witness these awful things, right? Like I think all of us unfortunately traumatized ourselves by like going on rotten.com when we were like in fifth grade or something. But yeah, I think like there is something about like that lizard brain quality of horror that sort of appeals to it too. It's not just a place for us to feel afraid in a safe place. It's also like a place for us to put like all our dark shit at. That's why there's so many monsters that are just sort of extracted metaphors for some part of the human condition. You know, like what is a werewolf if not like just the fear of our dark psyche personified? What is a vampire if not the fear of what I was getting at earlier, like being taken advantage of by something that presents itself as more appealing and attractive and stuff. Like horror is from its beginning. It's just sort of like in a weird way, it's a part of everybody, right? It's a part of like everyone. Like horror in a weird way frames the human psyche, mainly because our psyche comes from our fucking ancestors who had to be afraid of the dark, who had to fucking consider that something could come out and fucking kill you at any fucking second. Like yeah, like a lot of it is just kind of born from that real primal fucking like part of ourselves that's still there. Experiencing the darkest recesses of the human experience and beyond, safest way possible. We want to be disturbed and challenged in the safest of, yeah, no, that's exactly it. I'm not Pink Bunny Zero, but if yeah, I would love to hear I'd love to see if you could expound on it for sure. The central outlet for sure. Jekyll and Hyde is also like that, the fear of our innermost dark side manifesting. Yeah. Yeah. And we see it like in a lot of ways. Yeah, examine our place and then also like examine our base selves, losing all your agency and loved ones suffer for it. Yeah, there you go. Exactly. And I think a lot of it too. I think even mummies, right? I think mummies as a monster is very fucking interesting, and when you sort of put it into the context of like where it came from, because mummies are only monsters in the modern Western world. You know, mummies were literally not like a thing. People were mummified. They didn't become mummies. Their dead bodies were mummified and preserved as part of like these different cultures is like death rituals, you know? So like like what's even interesting is if you sort of take the social aspect of it into consideration. Because what happens, right? The Western world colonizes the rest of the world, right? Exploits it and pillages it. And at some point, during around the same time that like film as a medium was starting to like um, you know, have a more mainstream presence, we started to get inside the pyramids, and there's this big sort of supposed curse and all that. In a lot of ways, you could even argue that mummies are a fear of like of the past, right? Of the ancient spirits coming back from the dead to sort of like wreak havoc for disturbing their peace, right? Disturbing their natural state. It's all there. Monsters and patron saints of insecurities and darkest fears. Oh, there you fucking go. I love that. To say things that are otherwise unsaid. Memetics is basically what we are talking about. Cultures using screens as a mirror. That's yeah, I love that. That's exactly what we're talking about here for sure. People used to eat mummies and use them for paints. Oh, dang! I didn't know that. So yeah, they weren't monsters though, right? Like they weren't like these horrific things. They didn't even minimized at some point. Mummy's connection to death that scares the West, right? Because of sort of our very limited. You're right. It's very true. I wish I liked Del Toro just a little bit more. You know what's weird? I think we all have our directors like that. You know, I think I have a lot of directors that I wish I liked their work more than I did. But what's weird about Del Toro for me, dude, is that like he's such a constant presence in like the studio news cycle through all his production work and all that in a weird way in my head, right? He's like the Robert Zemeckis of horror. And it's not that I don't like Robert Zemeckis, it's just that I'm not always super excited to go watch a Robert Zemeckis movie. But unlike Robert Zemeckis, nine times out of 10 when I go see a Del Toro movie, it's fantastic stuff. Um I wish we, dude. I think Blade 2 is relatively well regarded, to be honest. I mean, I think it's the most well liked of the trilogy, from what I understand. I wish Hellboy, like I never watched the Golden Army, but his Hellboy movie was legit, like really damn good. I think it's really underrated. Um, but yeah, sort of getting back to um, you know, monsters and very creative. The execution just lacks a bit. But I dig the Zemeckis comparison. Well, yeah, no, yeah. I mean, again, it's all about the presence. I think they have more than anything. But let's look at the again Frankenstein's monster. Right, Frankenstein's monster is essentially a manifestation of our fear of God. You know, and I think that it's interesting because like just like God, what was I getting at earlier? Just like mummies came at a time where like technology was advancing, or film technology was becoming mainstream. Frankenstein came at a time where like electricity, we were making all these advancements in like electricity and advancing the civilized world. And yeah, it probably did feel it probably did feel for a lot of people like we were playing God. And yeah, um, sort of getting back to the cruelty aspect of it, right? I think it was who was it here? I want to make sure that I'm quoting the right person. Um, there has to be an element of injustice. Let me see. Yeah, but yeah, no, there does have to be like an element of injustice, like some sort of like, because I think that's what sticks with you, right? Because I mean, let's face it, I was talking about Midsommar, and that was the first thing I talked about was Christian, because it did leave me feeling like, man, he didn't deserve that. And I think maybe that's even like slashers, part of the horror, because like slashers are generally seen as more goofy these days than genuinely like horror, like generally scary, right? But the horror elements just kind of come from these basic aspects. Like one, you can never really kill Chuck, you can never really kill Chucky or Jason or Michael or Freddy, right? They're unkillable. We don't know why they keep coming back. It's unknowable, right? And I think the cruelty, especially when it comes to like you know, Jason and Michael specifically, is that they're killing teenagers. Like, yeah, they're shitty, and yeah, they probably shouldn't be drinking and doing all this crazy stuff, but none of them deserve to die for it, and that is the sort of injustice at the core, excuse me, by the way, of those movies, is that like it's inherently unfair that these kids, for indulging in their natural impulses, are dying, but also take into context the social political aspect of the time, and a lot of it more kind of fleshes out and makes more sense. Um, a fear of the future when we all die and be desecrated. Yeah, no, that's a pretty good way of looking at it. Let me see. I've never considered Blade 2 as underrated, probably because I live in my own bubble where it's always ruled. But it's one of the best examples of pacing in superhero cinema ever. Just like a great, like, you know, I think like that's the first example of seeing what a genuine like auteur can do with genre and stuff like that, you know. Let me see. I think Mummy's also I just read that one. Horror for me reflect, yeah, yeah, dude, 100%. It's just so expertly constructed, a stream of set pieces. Oh, okay, yeah. Talk about Blade 2. Myers, the greatest single unstoppable force of all time, and like also, even just like the basic irrationality that like Michael and Jason just walk everywhere and somehow always manage to outrun these like young people who are running for their lives. You know, thank God I don't have to morally agree with the movie too. Oh yeah, no, God no, dude. I mean, yeah, like I don't think you can like enjoy even like the work of Haneke or Von Trier if that was the case. You know, or at least you should be able to enjoy a movie that you don't morally agree with. You know, that's the way I see it. Those teenage horror movies are always moral allegories. So, um, yeah, yeah, um, I think they're sort of versions of like folk tales, right? Like the sort of talking about the what, not the boogeyman. Well, I guess maybe the boogeyman, but these sort of what's the word, folkloric horrors, right? To keep people from doing things. It's sort of like an abstraction of that. I'm using the worst language here, but I think you guys know what I'm talking about. Like I'm Mexican. Any Mexicans in the chat know about La Llorona, right? It's just a scary a scary story we tell kids so they can go wandering around at night. You know, I think we all have some sort of cultural version of that, or Kukui, our boogeyman. Um, Let me see. What was that? What was it saying? Oh yeah. So back to Midsummer, right? So yeah, like, and you know, what I really loved about Midsummer this time around, uh, was that it's 2 hours and 50 minutes long. It's almost 3 hours long, and don't it's a sort of like your standard director's cut, where like if you sort of just view it as a version of the movie compared to the theatrical, all the stuff that was taken out makes sense. It does slow the movie down, but I think the director's cut works on a totally different level, right? Because all the stuff that they cut out is almost all just world building more about the cult. But what I loved about that was that because it shaved away all those things for the theatrical, all I saw in the theatrical was the breakup story. But in the director's cut, with all that stuff taken back in, the the Horga, the cult aspect of it became the real sort of heart of the movie. And a big aspect of the film is Danny's like subtle brainwashing. Well, the brainwashing of all the characters, but specifically Danny. And in this director's cut, it tracks so much more because of the added scenes that Danny knew she was in danger at first and then eventually lost that fear. That becomes a much bigger part of the story. Um, and what happened for me watching it with the with my like emotional state post breakup all these months later, where I'm starting to get real reflective about stuff, um and sort of experiencing this movie as a film more about the cult and more about the indoctrination of that cult, or into that cult from, you know, that cult indoctrinating someone from the outside. My words all over the place today here, guys, I'm sorry. But like, yeah, I felt it really put me in the shoes of Danny, and it really was a much more powerful experience. Like, it really fucking like affected me this time, because in the end, I felt like really moved by like the final images, which, let's face it, everybody's seen the final shot of this movie so much. It's in like video essays on social media, on all these things. It's like one of the most iconic like images in modern horror cinema. So like I've seen it hundreds of times, but like this time, the whole 2 hour and 50 minute experience is so much more holistic and so much like grand, not just in its scope, but in its like exploration of it, that like it really did have the fully intended effect of just like gut punching me, and really just like putting me right there in Danny's shoes, because by the end of this cut of the movie, much like Danny, I really felt like I understood and sympathized with the Horga. Like I really felt like I don't agree with you, but I get it. And I felt weird judging them, even though I was watching them do horrible things, and I realized, holy shit, I just got fucking Danny'd, you know? And then one last thing that I'll say about and this has always been the case for me, even from the beginning, from the first viewing. What I like the most about it is Florence Pugh's performance. God, like she is just heartbreaking to watch, man. She is just fucking heartbreaking to watch, because like she is holding so much in. She is in so much pain, and she's fighting so hard not to show it. And it just like, oh dude, that just fucking like killed that shit killed me, dude. Because like towards the end of a breakup, like there's just like or it because of the breakup itself, watching Florence Pugh kind of mirror visually like what that experience was like. Oh man, like yeah, again, like part of it is just because I myself am now like single after a breakup, rewatching it, but also it just the 2 hour and 50-minute runtime. This is something I'll explore later. Sometimes a long runtime is the point, is like part of the experience in and of itself. And I think Midsommar should have never been cut to a theatrical like version, because this feels like Midsommar, and the theatrical cut feels like I wouldn't even say I don't want to go so far as to say bastardized, but I don't think I'll ever watch the theatrical cut again. I could see myself watching Midsommar maybe even this weekend one more time, because it really did move me last week when I saw it. Let's see. Even Drag Me to Hell was a doozy when it comes to cruelty, and yet still fun as fuck. That kind of contraction leads to interest naturally, and the violent nature whittles down the slasher to its most. You know what? That was Terrifier for me, to be fair. But I've heard that about In a Violent Nature. I need to watch it for sure. Drag Me to Hell is also a great example of horror in its odd way, being the most morally sound of the genres. All the cruelty is predicated on Justine doing something out of selfishness. Yeah, yeah. The Wicker. I love that. They call the theatrical cut the Wicker breakup. That's yeah. No, it's for real. It to me, the theatrical cut feels so small, so like minor compared to this. Excuse me. So, Um, I like the violent nature. I need to watch it, man. I really need to watch it. There's a lot of. I mean, it's fucking. I need to watch Oddity too. And what's that other one? Oh god, there's some other fucking. I mean, it's Shutter, dude. There's always some good shit to watch on Shutter. What was I saying? Yeah, let's keep talking about horror movies. um, yeah, because last night, you know what? Yeah, one of the other discs that I wanted to show off, because I got this recently, and this is why I wanted to show it. This is one of the coolest box sets that I think that I have in my whole collection here now. Let me get this mic set up, and it's the hey, that one actually shows up. The J Horror Rising box set from Arrow. I gotta show you guys like just this poster here. It's fucking badass. Look at that shit. Look at my shit, dude. Look at my fucking shit. It's double sided, but I like the first side that I saw that I showed most. Um, so let's see. There you go. Pop it back in. That's this really dope fucking book set. These covers are really nice. They're all nice and stylish and shit. Like this is the one that I watched yesterday. There you go. Fucking Noroi, The Curse on Blu-ray for the first time, I believe. Let me get this put away here for a second. All right. Okay. But yeah, the J horror box set, it has 5 movies. Let me tell you guys what it has. It's got Shikoku and Isola, multi-personality girl. That I really want to see that one. Inugami, St. John's Wort, Carved, The Slit-Mouthed Woman, Persona, and Noroi the Curse. Now, I think I think a lot of people uh what was it? Yeah, I think a lot of people like me bought this specifically to watch Noroi. So I watched it when it was on Shutter, like 4 years ago, 3 years ago. And it was fucking wild. I rewatched it again yesterday, last night, and dude, like this is found footage like perfected in my opinion. It's like a great use of the found footage like tropes, but it also like mixes in all these television clips and stuff, and just really sells you on this really kind of dark and twisted ghost story with some really fantastic like acting. Let me see. I know you mentioned getting Martin before. What did you think? I actually haven't like pulled the trigger on that one yet. That's been on my to buy list for a while. But I did get the Indicator Bruiser 4K when that was released. Raimi's best horror movie, and it comes from someone who has been obsessed. You know what? I think it's up there, man. I think it's up there for sure. I had to buy Martin for sure though. I want to see that one really bad. The other night, the final mid credit scene. Okay, are you talking about like? Are you talking about like when they get the tape that showed what happened that night? Is that because that was pretty great? Like, so for those who don't know, Noroi is a sort of fake documentary. It kind of reminded me of Lake Mungo in a lot of ways, but this is like way more of a genre movie. And it's like basically following this paranormal investigator, who like it starts off as this really basic case, but then eventually balloons into this much more like grand folkloric mystery. Um, it's it's what how do I say it? I think found footage specifically a like movies are all about the ride, are all about the experience of going through this journey more than like other movies because like the found footage format, the documentary format just grounds it so much more. And because of that, I think it has to be more like chronological, if that makes any more sense. I mean, don't get me wrong, like all movies start small and then kind of grow from there. But I think like with found footage, that's what the journey is, you know? And I think with Noroi, the compounding, like the way that the different facets of the story like compound and intermix with each other, it sort of just weaves this really like dark story, and it's just like really like borderline demented, you know. And by the end of it, it just makes you feel like you how do I say it? I think like horror, on top of the cruelty of it, like it should just kind of feel like inherently kind of like gross. Not if not like viscerally, but like in the end, like you should walk away being like that was a very unpleasant experience. And I think Noroi is a very punishingly bleak, yeah, fake documentary movie, man. There's one thing that it has more over Lake Mungo is that as much as I like Lake Mungo, it ends on a little bit too happy of a note towards the third act before it sort of reels itself back in, you know. Um Noroi is totally is one I'm totally out of sync with. Didn't work for me, but I'm willing to rewatch. Also didn't work for me on viewing. Not, I need to watch the original Ring U. I know Arrows put out that one, and Jew owned, but I haven't seen either of the original ones of those. But I did love The Ring. Like I think The Ring is probably the best PG-13 horror movie, at least that I can think of. Uh yeah. Okay. Yeah. Seeing it all. I like it. I also would have liked like they didn't show it. Don't get me wrong. Like I think it's great, a great scene, but I think for me it would have been just as like effective if we never saw what actually happened, but maybe it would have been too sequel baity. Director Roy's and Martin Scorsese of found footage. He did a record of Street Murder, amazing, and The Cult, my personal favorite. Oh yeah, you talked about it. You talked about a Cult, and they're all good too. I mean, I got to check out his other stuff, man. Like yeah, found footage to me, like when found footage is done right, it can be some of the best horror out there. Unfortunately, it's very hard to do it right. I've been wanting to watch Martin for probably 13 to 14 years and was worried it wouldn't live up. When I finally got the second sight 4K, it was worth the wait. Romero is unmatched in my opinion. Yeah, no, I need to what was the last Romero that I watched? I think I watched The Crazies like last year. I need to set some more time apart for George Romero's other movies. Um I think I think you know what? Let me check something else here because there was something else that I wanted to do. What was it? Oh, okay. Yeah, you know what? We'll leave the discussion of what makes horror for now. I was going to show. You know what? I might as well show these other two here. But we can come back to it. If you guys have anything more to add in the chat, we can come right back to it anytime and discuss it further. But I think those are the big ones that at least are relevant to what I'm working on outside of pop counterculture. Let me see here. Favorite movie of all time. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I need to watch Season of the Witch. I have the Arrow Blu-ray on that one. This is another one that I just kind of love the presentation of it. This is Radiance's End of Civilization, the films of Piotr Zolkin movies. I've only seen War of the Worlds, The Next Century, which is just really it kind of it has the aesthetics of the first act of A Clockwork Orange, which is I think A Clockwork Orange has one of the greatest first acts in any horror in any movie ever, you know. And I think like War of the Worlds definitely has that vibe throughout the entire movie. And it's also just like a really great example of like doing good sci-fi satire, like on a budget. And yeah, like I want to watch the rest of that set, but October popped up, so I had to watch some more horror movies. One of those I've heard of them though. No, I've only seen one, but like the one that I saw was legit. And then this is the latest one that I wanted to see because I don't think this is rare or nothing, but like I doubt a lot of people have this. And this is Francis Ford Coppola's his own pressing his own release through American Zoetrope of One for the Heart on DVD. Actually, I tend to not buy DVDs if there's other options available, but this is directly from Zoetrope. It's a 2 disc set. Let me see. It's got like a it's got an actual letter here. Got an actual letter here from I actually haven't opened this. Yeah, see, he put out like a fucking full on Criterion style release here. Um, wait a second. Oh, for a second there, I thought there was a big error on my shit here, but no, we're good. Um, and the one I think like the reason why I pulled the trigger is just because like looking at just two of these images, I see La La Land and Blade Runner 2049. You see that? Yeah, the ones that you can actually see. I can already see the influence of them in other movies. But yeah, let me go ahead and just read what Francis Ford Coppola says here. I'd have to say that in many ways, One from the Heart was the antidote to Apocalypse Now. That film has been so tough, so thoroughly frightening, so strange in its exploration of morality that I wanted very badly to make a film that was its opposite, something more like a fable, which Megalopolis is a fable, and that's I hear very comparable to this movie. Um, what was I saying? Fable, more like the musical comedies I used to direct in college. I didn't know he directed musical comedies. Also, I had come to the conclusion that in the last days of Apocalypse Now, that the cinema was about to go through an extraordinary change and that it was able to become electronic. I was sure that movies were going to be shot and edited digitally. They were eventually, and we're going to be able to make use of the many facilities of an electronic medium. It was my thought that perhaps there could be such a thing as live cinema, which he tried to do in Megalopolis. Some new as of yet undemonstrated form that used the methods and principles of the great live TV performed in the 50s by such great directors as John Frankenheimer. Anyone who's seen his work in the period, such as a comedian or Turn of the Screw, can understand how tempting it would be to mount the entire full length piece of cinema basically in real time. I became very enthusiastic about creating a studio of the future, which would facilitate working in this way by combining elements of stagecraft, music, and dance, and yet be able to use cinematic elements of montage and mise en scene, much in the way that Frankenheimer successfully did years before. So we began to prepare the way to actually do such an experiment, one in which the sound design and musical elements would be added during what was essentially a live performance of the pieces. The sets would all be built on stages and lined up in proximity according to the sequence of scenes in the script. This was the first film to assemble modern electronic equipment to be used in this way, and the film brought back Jerry Lewis's original idea to mount TV cameras on film cameras, now known as video assist, to allow scenes to be switched, edited during a live performance. Of course, the final method of making the film was forced to back up a little. A great cinematographer didn't really want to use as many cameras at once as would be necessary, and the sets began to be too extensive to allow the actors to run from one end to the next without a break. And of course, a roll of film in those days would run for only 10 minutes, so a total live cinema experience was somewhat impossible. Still, we made one from the heart, as close to that idea as humanly possible. And although the result may be a bit wacky, there is, I hope, a charm of its own. This is from Francis Ford Coppola in 2003. Um, I'm really fucking curious about this movie, man. Like, it's one of those oddities, late stage fucking Coppola, which I think is just like, it's weird. Like, I think flop era Coppola is more interesting, even though his movies are worse. Um, cut a single one of those. I've heard of them though. With the exception of Monkey Shines, I love every movie he did. I think Monkey Shines is well, I mean, yeah, I mean that movie, One from the Heart, is just such a Coppola in general, but like One from the Heart is seen as like the beginning of the end of his Imperial period. I tend to disagree because I think he had a solid run in the 80s. Rumblefish, The Outsiders, those are the ones that I've seen, but I heard some more of his 80s movies are good too. But yeah. We have a couple of new releases, new announcements from a couple of boutique labels to talk about today. Yeah, we'll go ahead and talk about Arrow for well, you know what, let's talk about Synapse because they have just one thing to announce, but it's kind of legit, and I think a lot of you guys are going to love this one. So yeah, we have Trick or Treat, the 1980s, not the recent one, the 1980s one, 4K UHD, Blu-ray and CD with a 60-page booklet, a collector's card set, and a double-sided poster. Synapse is actually releasing 3 different covers here. You got A, B, and C, or you could buy all 3 for $200. Otherwise, it's $66.66. I love it, dude. I've never seen this movie. I've heard a lot about it, of course. Uh $66. I mean, that is a lot. That is a lot for I mean, if you guys in chat seen it, like it looks like a lot of fucking fun. Let's be real here. But this is the one release they have. Let's kind of see what else they have here. And he takes their time, but it's time well spent. They made Suspiria look out of this world. I need to buy the Suspiria disc for sure. Um, that's one of those like heavily celebrated. I think it's super rare too, right? Fun watch. I just wish the final act was stronger. Ah, that's a bummer. Like it's a bummer when the last act, especially like in a genre movie like that, to to be the weakest one. That's how I felt about this Mexican B movie I watched recently. Terror Traffickers, basically just a bunch of terrorists. Um, and it starts off so goddamn fucking good. Like there's this shootout like in the middle of the city. Like it's clearly like a studio backlot. Like it's all just nondescript empty buildings, but like the editing, the camera work is absolutely awesome. And then the fucking third act is just like a dude giving directions over the god like to an like literally the climactic action scene of this fucking movie. Hold on, I gotta fucking put this on widescreen because I'm fucking livid about this. All right, the movie starts off like awesome with like these large scale for a B movie at least like action scenes. And these are like Mexican B movies, so they're doing some wild shit like for real in a very unsafe way. with this really awesome, like I said, shootout sequence, and then it constricts into this small, like, hostage movie, and then the movie ends with like the bad guys, like, basically the end of this movie, the big climactic scene is like this housewife and her daughter like trying to land a plane while somebody gives them directions of how to do it, like over the mic, the headset and shit, and he literally films the whole thing where she fails once, she has to go back up, go around, fails twice, go back around, like go back up and go around, and then try it for the third time, and it's the most fucking boring thing, dude. Yeah, it's frustrating because I mean I'm not one of those guys who thinks like the whole movie should hinge on your ending, but it is what the audience walks away feeling. I saw this so long ago. These rock horror movies aren't my thing. I remember this was okay. I mean, Rock and Roll High School is pretty dope, though, in my opinion. Maybe I'm just a Ramones fan, but it is probably the best of the heavy metal horror films. Well, uh, that's legit. Then, we also have, and I've never actually checked this. I never actually checked out this company before, but Mondo Macabro, what they're. Let me see. Let me get this. Let me get these dudes up right here. Mondo Macabro. Yo, I feel like I should be saying macabre or macabro. Mondo Macabro. I don't know. It feels weird, but that's what it's called. Mondo Macabro. They just announced 4 new releases here. I am hesitant to show that on the big screen because it's got nudity on the cover, but it is The Punishment. Uh, Goddamn. Okay, I'm just gonna. I don't want to get fucking in trouble here, so I'm just gonna go ahead and get past the large naked woman on the cover here. I can't. Okay, literally nothing I can't show about this without showing some nudity. So let's just move on to the next release here, which is Girl Slaves of Morgana Le Fay. Um, Let me see. It's from France, 1971. Driving in their car through Avon one summer, two young girls, Anne and Francois, find themselves in the kingdom of mythic Morgana, queen of the fairies. Ever since Merlin taught her his skills centuries ago, Morgana has gone on living by obtaining the souls of the young women who pass through her kingdom. In exchange, she gives the captives who agree to her pact an eternal youth and beauty. Those who refuse her, those who refuse her, grow old and ugly in the dungeons of her castle. Okay, and it has a brand new 4K restoration from the original negative. It's region free with the audio commentary from writer director Bruno Gantillon, interviews with Bruno Cantillon, Dominic Del Pierre, and a short film by Bruno Cantillon, an artistic couple trailer. All right, yeah, that's legit. It also comes with a 24-page full color booklet, 4 double-sided cool full color art cards, and posters. 2,000 numbered copies, and they will be sent out randomly. Let's watch a trailer for this. See if it's any good. Girl slaves. Let me get this sent up here. Let's see. Girl slaves of Morgana Le Fay. Let's see. All right, we got a theatrical trailer right here.
Faites demi-tour. Ne dépassez pas le village.
The forbidden domain. Shall be power up.
Emporte-la.
Dude's name
Envoie les
is
servants pour
Earth.
préparer.
Lesbos, terre des nuits chaudes et langoureuses, qui font qu'à leur miroir stérile.
I think it's interesting that they cut to the word like lesbos when she's like hovering over her lips like that. With digital cameras nowadays, yesterday's trash movies now have extra value to them. Well, I mean, it's crazy what you can do
de
um,
volupté,
with the
des filles
restoration.
aux yeux creux de leurs
Make
corps
all black
amoureuses
families of their own. Oh
caressent
shit!
les fruits
Okay,
mûrs de
fuck,
leur
man, I
nudité.
can't fucking show anything about this. All right, so clearly it's an erotic film. All right. Um, I don't think how much of this can I actually all right, this one at least seems violent, which America's all for. It's called Bohachi Bushido from Japan, 1973. Legendary actor Tetsuo Tanba stars as Shiro, a master swordsman who is wary of the world of samurai honor and samurai killing, and so attempts suicide rather than finishing a fight. He is saved by the Bohachi clan, a gang of pimps who have forsaken all honor and whose cynicism outruns even his own. But ultimately, even he tires of their nihilistic worldview, leading to a final showdown in the snow. That one sounds really good. Um, Full of flying limbs, naked lady ninjas, drug-induced hallucinations, and cackling villains, Bohachi Bushido is one of directors Ishii's most deranged and impressive spectacles. We're extremely excited to bring you the world HD disc debut of this incredible cult film in the brand new exclusive 4K restoration. So it is on 4K. Um, Let me see. The UHD is HDR enhanced with commentaries, interviews, booklets, and all that good stuff. Yeah, no, I saw it right there. I guess Synapse. You seem like a cool company. I'm low key kind of like interested in Bohachi Bushido, but I feel like yeah, I feel like I can't show any of you guys' products, unfortunately. Hopefully their next release won't have so much goddamn nudity in their trailers and stuff. And then saving the biggest announcements for last because fucking Arrow just announced a fucking huge, huge amount of hits here. Um, so let's see. The first one, now this one I've never heard before. It's William Shatner's Incubus. It is often said that films about the devil are cursed with bad luck, but Leslie Stevenson's Incubus might be the most cursed of them all. Holy shit. By the time it premiered in 1966, two of its stars had tragically taken their own lives. The eccentric director's insistence on filming in the obscure Esperanto language ensured it failed to receive any distribution, and it was nearly lost forever when the original elements were believed lost in a fire. Decades passed until it was finally saved and unveiled to the public in all its unholy glory. Dude, that is a write up. That is how you fucking sell a product, baby. Goddamn. Okay. Wounded in battle, Soldier Mark, played by William Shatner himself, just prior to being cast in Star Trek, ventures to the remote village of Nomentum to find a well where the waters are said to be blessed with healing powers. Little does he suspect that the inhabitants of Nomentum are demonic seductresses who entice interlopers and lead them to damnation. And one such succubus, Kia, like the car, has her eyes set on Mark. As an eclipse shrouds the sun and darkness falls over the village, Mark and Kia Nero's relationship becomes more passionate. Uh, will his soul survived? Will his soul survive? Uh, it was filmed in Big Sur. Nice. That's cool. And it's a 4K with right on with English subtitles, commentaries. Dude, this actually this intrigues me, but like this is just like the beginning, guys. Let's see. Cursed film is cursed. This film may be hexed. Pop. Now that's yeah, no, that's how you fucking sell a movie, dude. Yeah, no, I mean shit. I might have to pick that up. That sounds pretty legit. Um, and you know what? Let's get their other smaller release here too. Rampo Noir. I've never even heard of this one right here. Four filmmakers from completely different backgrounds bring their radically personal takes on the stories of Japan. Japan's celebrated master of the macabre, Edogawa Rampo. Okay. In Mars Canal by music video director and visual artist Suguru Takeuchi, a lone man encounters the other side of his psyche beyond the reflective surface of a circular pond set in a desolate landscape. Japanese new wave auteur and longtime director of the Ultraman series, Akio Jisoji, harnesses his distinctive stylistic sheen in his story of a mad mirror maker, Mirror Hell. And Caterpillar sees a singular vision of cult director Hisayasu Sato at its most grotesque in his portrait of a wounded war veteran who returns from the front line as little more than a bloody torso. Holy crap. Helpless to defend himself against the increasingly perverted caprices of his embittered wife. A lot of seductresses and incubuses and perverted caprices of an embittered wives. Finally, a famous actor is subjected to the obsessive attentions of her limo driver. Crawling Bugs, the directorial debut of internationally acclaimed manga artist Atsushi Kaneko. Produced by the same team behind Ichi the Killer and Uzumaki. Dude, like they're selling me pretty bad. I'm not gonna lie. This sounds then whoever's writing this, like if they got whoever wrote these descriptions and the guy who added fucking Vinegar Syndrome's trailers together, they would be like an unstoppable force in my opinion. Including let me see. Rampo Noir is a stylistic tour de force that vividly evokes the erotic, grotesque worlds created by Japan's pioneering proponent of horror and mystery fiction. Yeah, this set sounds legit, and it's I mean, I'm guessing it's just one movie with 4 like short films, but I mean, sounds like a good set of movies in my opinion. Now, the two big releases, the two big announcements, it's not Mallrats. That's been around for a while. That I really want to talk about is first of all, Tarsem Singh's The Cell. This has been rumored for a long, long time. Fun fact: Edogawa Rampo is the author's fun play on. I could see it. Edogawa Rampo, Edgar Allan Poe. That's funny. Yeah, no, The Cell on 4K comes with looks like a pretty nice fucking booklet here. I'm digging the poster. I mean, this is Tarsem Singh's fucking like signature movie here, right? Like the one genuinely great artistic achievement that nobody can take away from Jennifer Lopez. Yeah, this movie, I remember like every time it came on because we used to have one of those illegal cable boxes when I was a kid. We get pay-per-view and Showtime and HBO for free. And I remember when this hit HBO, man, like I would always just like sit back and just like watch minutes of it at a time. I don't think I've ever seen this movie all the way through, but like some of the imagery is always like stuck with me in this one. But yeah, this is one of its big releases here. The other big one, the other big one's pretty fucking big deal. The last Quentin Tarantino movie that I really liked, by the way, and that's Inglorious Bastards. Yeah, this is look at this. I mean, that is a fucking set, man. Like the original poster, like it has some not just some like lithographs, but like some stuff from like the universe of the movie. Let me see. Cool cover. The original studio cover here. I wish I got have you seen The Fall? I've never seen The Fall, no. Unfortunately. Hey Mika, how you doing, man? Yeah. I don't think no, I don't I've seen The Cell, but I haven't seen The Fall. But yeah, dude, like this is in my opinion the last truly great Quentin Tarantino movie, or at least the last one that like captured my attention. I'm not a fan of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I really think that's like Tarantino's only not great movie in my opinion. But Inglorious Bastards is legit, and the 4K that's out there is one of those infamously awful 4Ks with the really bad transfer. No love for the Hateful Eight. I love that one more and more. Okay, here's my problem with the Hateful Eight. I've never seen it. And this is gonna be I might get canceled for this. Okay. So I've talked about before about how like some things in cinema, right? There's some things that are inherent to cinema, and that cinema like requires, right? And there's some things that cinema has from other mediums and other art forms that enhances it, and has always been unhinged. Oh, definitely, definitely. And for me, dialogue is just one of those things. Dialogue is one of those things that is just like you don't need dialogue to make a good movie. I mean, cinema existed as like without dialogue for what, like 40, 50 years before sound came along. And I listen, I'm not, again, I like good dialogue as much as the next guy. I'm not here saying dialogue is like frivolous or anything like that, you know. But the thing is, my major criticism with Tarantino is he's really fucking good at dialogue and he knows it. You know, like he knows, he's aware. Everybody knows that like Tarantino dialogue is his fucking thing, you know. And I think that sort of led to this idea, specifically because of his success, where like a good movie has to have that sort of like super emphasis on the dialogue to be elevated and all that shit, you know. Uh, and sort of getting back to Hateful Eight, the problem with Hateful Eight is that like it was sold to me, and I haven't seen it. I want to see it at some point, but the reason why he hasn't like spoken to me so far is because, from what I understand, it's like a 3-hour movie that mainly takes place in one location and is almost purely dialogue driven. And I'm just like, in my head, I'm like, that's theater. Like that's a play. That's not a movie. And it's just like, to me, 3 hours of dialogue, like, again, it's Tarantino dialogue. I'm sure it's like the best dialogue there ever was, you know? But it's not like appealing to me at all. Even if it is Tarantino, like I don't think, like, I don't know. It's just like it doesn't appeal to me. I'm pretty sure it's good if I were to sit down and watch it, but like literally, like whenever I'm like, you know what? Let's give it a shot. I'm like, oh yeah, it's like 3 hours of dudes in a room talk, or like in one area talking, and it's like, even if Tarantino directs the shit out of it, it's still gonna feel like a play, you know. But then again, that's just me from the outside. I maybe should just watch it one day, but it's daunting, you know. As long as it's not making endless callbacks from the 80s and 50s, I love cinema, right? Yeah. They Filet Pains, they smashed the real guitar in like an 1860. Oh, yeah. No, I heard that story. And as a guitarist, that's unforgivable. I'll never watch it. The end. Yeah. And that is the last of the releases here today, which leads us to our final segment here, where we're gonna be watching a short film from Deformed Lunchbox. We'll see what the director's name is. Let me see. Who is the director's name? Seth Woodhouse. Written by Seth Woodhouse, with a story by Norris Palmer and Seth Woodhouse. And it is, who's starring in this? Who are the actors? Sheila Daly, Cecilia Diamond, and Maddox Simmons. We're going to kick back and close out this show by watching this little short film called Ghost Goose. Keep in mind that, like, let me see. I think the bar scene in Inglorious Bastards, but that's a feature. It's an exercise in that kind of tension and dread. No, yeah, and I get it. Like, it's great for like a scene, but like for 3 hours, man, like that's just a lot. It's a lot of talking, you know. But yeah, let's close out this stream with Deformed Lunchbox's Ghost Goose. Here we go.
Why is it so big?
So you guys get out of the space. The backyard is huge.
You know, I once heard about a family who lived in a house so big there was a murder in it and no one ever knew.
Well, let's stop making stuff up and go find yourself a room.
Where's all the stuff?
It's unfurnished.
I don't like it. Why do we have to move here?
Can you please just calm down?
Don't tell me to calm down.
Really digging the sound design. Good acting on the good casting one. Like, it seemed like a really believable family.
It's mushy. That didn't help. Why are we here?
Because I thought you guys would like it. It's much better than the old place.
Who's paying for it?
Well, it's a lease.
Can't walk to my friends now. Is Dad paying for it?
Just for a little bit. It was part of the agreement since he got the house, and
Don't want to live here. Did you do this to be mean to Dad?
don't make stuff up.
Yeah, Ella, you're crazy.
Shut up. You shut up.
Would you just stop?
They could do it.
Everything is going to be fine. We have this nice big place now, and you guys are going to keep going to the same school and live the same lives you did. Okay?
Graham, what did you just? The plate just slid off. I didn't do anything.
Go to your room.
Don't even have a room.
Jill, it is a problem. One of our teachers called me to talk about the lying.
Mark, she'll grow out of it.
You don't know what you're doing. What about Graham and his anger? And now you're taking them to this big, ridiculous house that
Everything's
I
going to be fine. One, two, three, four.
What are you? Goose?
How did you lock yourself in here?
The goose. It was right here. I'm telling you.
I told you she was crazy.
Graham, stop. Ella, honey, you've got to stop making stuff up like this. Just because we're in
No,
a
but
new
it was
house-
real.
Oh, I believe you, Ella.
Shut up, you little shit.
You can't say that to me. Mom, she can't say that to me.
I said shut up.
Hey,
Guys, let's all just relax now. Come on.
Got all Babadook in here.
Oh, Graham, I'm sorry. Graham, honey, I don't know what just happened. Honey, I would never.
Mom, Graham, just look at this painting. You didn't do it. The goose made you do it. No. There was a goose on it and dead people.
This is pretty damn good so far. I'm not gonna lie, guys.
Stupid house. Stupid house.
Mom! What the hell? I want to go home.
Graham?
Harry Astor shot right there.
Oh, Graham. What are you doing with that? I'm gonna tell Mom.
She'll never.
Mom! Graham, this isn't you. You're being controlled. Mom, it's the goose controlling him. I'm telling you.
I understand. I believe you.
You do?
Yes.
I just want to say, I should have give credit to that actress because like she was able to say that line very well.
Graham, honey, please calm down.
Maybe try to get him to do one of your breathing things.
Wait. I'm sorry. I understand why you're angry. And nobody is blaming you for being mad. Let's just take a deep breath together and count to 5 as we breathe out. 1, 2, 3,
4, 5.
honey.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's okay. There it is.
Hey. We have to think through this. I'm so sorry about all of this. This whole situation, it's been so hard on you guys, and it's not going to get better for a little bit.
It won't?
No. But it will after a while. I need you guys to stick with me. I promise. We'll get through this.
Okay. I love you, Mom.
Me too.
We're going to be okay.
Gotta live with stuff. Dude, that was great. That was a really, really great exercise in just like genre filmmaking. First of all, very noticeably, the cinematography is pretty impressive, I think, especially the stuff that takes place at night. I think it was a really clever conceit that they just moved in there because it allowed them to shoot to sort of like dress the sets very quick, very cheaply. It seems like. But also like I really enjoyed how like fully fleshed out this is, you know. This is one of those short horror films or short films in general that feel fully formed, that feel like a bigger thing. Like there is a central theme. There was a good amount of character drama. You have the mom dealing with the kids, you have the the sister being viewed out like she's crazy. You got the son with his anger issues. All these things are done very quickly, and sort of talking about some of the horror, so the philosophy of horror that we were talking about at the opening of the stream, right? Let's like run through it. One, it's cruelty. It's a family, a broken family trying to survive being hunted. That's one. The little girl is being viewed as crazy, even though we know she's right. That's two. And last but not least, they try to control the little boy to kill to kill his own sister. That's three. That's pretty dark. Another one. We see a little kid try to kill his kid sister, which is kind of going into like that how far are we taking this thing? How dark are we getting? Sort of aspect of it. Three, the goose is not the Gus. The goose is not defeated by the end. The goose is still there. The goose is also a metaphor for like this unspoken anxiety that is in this family clearly, and it's being used to this extent. And then like on top of all that too, it's called Ghost Goose. It's about a ghost goose. It's inherently silly. It's inherently ridiculous. But a good horror movie, you can make a good horror out of anything, including something as like ridiculous on the surface and as funny as this, because ultimately horror is so much more about like the metaphor, about the subtext, and about the feeling. And I think this film is able to capture that very effectively. Yeah, so if you like Ghost Goose, go ahead and check out. Make sure give it a like, leave a nice comment. Check out the Forum Lunchbox's YouTube channel. Go ahead and subscribe to that. Yeah, you know what? We have time. This has been like I was anticipating a much longer stream. Let's watch another one, dude. Let's watch one of the little movie perps recommendations. Pizza Party Panic. Let's see. All right, here we go. I'm already digging the let me see. I'm already digging the fucking thumbnail art. Here we go. I hope I don't get copyright for that.
Looking in the mirror, no reflection. Searching for a pulse,
It's way
no
cooler.
protection. Trying to find a sign that I exist at all. Memory of you.
She's got to be a big fan of Vicky D because she has the same like album on cassette and on disc. I just wanted to point that out.
Lightning, a dark and empty house can feel so frightening. The sound of my own voice just echoes off the walls. Till I've given up to go.
Hey guys, pizza's here.
Given up to go.
It's about time. I'm starving to death over here, Margot.
Maybe you wouldn't be so hungry if you spent your money on food instead of cancer sticks. The smell makes me want to Ralph.
Eat me, Tracy.
Guys, stop it. That's enough. Let's eat.
Save for the pizza.
Ugh, so hungry.
Does that say die like the rest?
No, I think they meant to spell dine, like D-I-N-E.
Where did you get this from?
Pizza place, duh. It's just some new joint in town. Brett said it was red.
Very good
Here
point.
we go.
Ew. Gag me with a spoon. Mushrooms and olives? Are you kidding me?
Pick them off or Pray for on pizza next time.
Margot, don't be like that. She can't help it if she was raised by picky-eating bimbo apes from planet Fuckwad.
I'm sorry that mushrooms are totally disgusting and pepperoni isn't. Okay, bitch?
I'm sorry, what did you call me?
Jeanette.
Ooh, I'm so scared.
Is that better, sweetie?
Don't be drama. Let's move on. What do you guys want to do tonight anyway?
We could play a game. I have Twister.
Lame.
Okay. We could watch a movie. My dad rented A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Lame. I've seen it too many times. Freddy sure is dreamy though.
Hey, what? He's a child killer.
Yeah, but that sweater, that fedora.
That clock.
Hey.
Oh my god. Guys, what's this?
A brain sucker.
And what's it doing?
Starving.
Okay. You guys are so weird. Get your Freddy fucking fingers off my hair and turn the music back on.
Fine. Going. Party pooper.
You okay, Margot? Margot. Margot.
Hey, are you okay?
You're acting like a spaz.
Oh yeah,
Margot.
I like the music too.
Margot. Margot, are you okay?
Oh my god!
Whoa, what the hell was that for, Margot?
Seriously, what's your damage?
I saw it coming on the pizza.
It's totally the mushrooms and olives. I told you they were bogus.
Are you on drugs?
It's Coke, isn't it?
Oh my god! What the hell? Something is in me. I can't stop it.
Holy shit, Margot! We're gonna get you some help.
No, leave. It wants me to hurt you. I know what you mean.
Margot, stop it! You're scaring us.
Get out!
Margot, your head is literally split open. Margot, we gotta get you to a hospital like now. Margot, please! We're your friends! Please don't hurt us! Jeanette, get out! Help us!
You look like shit, Margot.
Stop it! Stop it! Jeanette, come here! What's going on? What the fuck is happening? Wait, no! Cry later! Get off my best friend, you ugly fucking bitch! Sandra!
Oh shit!
Batter up! You gotta help me! Tracy! I always just fish! Let's fucking kill it! Let me do it! Hurry, it's getting away!
This is for Sandra, you brain sucking fuck. What the fuck just happened?
Oh, nice, man. Oh yeah, dude. No, fuck yeah. See, that's a fucking. Let me see. And then there's one composite shot. Another reason for set. No, to hide rigging on top. Oh yeah, no. This is legit, dude. Like I like this as a good like, just a good like exercise in filmmaking, dude. Like just great sound design, great dialogue, and great effects, especially. The music was pretty fun too overall. This is pretty legit, dude. So I like the other one more as a film, but this is like a lot more just fun as like a horror like aesthetic experience and stuff, you know. And I think that's gonna be it for today's stream, guys. I'm gonna go somewhere today. I'm gonna do some stuff for this channel that I'm very excited about. You guys are gonna see it next week, but these last 3 streams have been kind of all been kind of leading up to this thing that I'm gonna go do today. If I'm allowed to, I will live stream some of it. So if I'm live later, click, go ahead and and check it out because there's gonna be some really cool stuff. I might have a couple of guests next week from this thing that I'm doing. So until then, thank you guys all so much for watching. Thank you everybody in the chat for stopping by and hanging out. If you're watching this after it was live, let me know in the comment if you have anything you want to add to our discussion of horror, Midsommar and Noroi, some of the releases that we covered, or some of the short films that we watched today. Thank you all once again for watching. I've been Ed. You guys have been totally fucking awesome. Thank you so much for joining me. Till next time, peace.
Thank you.